Hello to everyone who is watching this gaming let's play on YouTube. I am Jordan Mustang 87 and I am now welcoming you to what is the start of game number 11 on my channel. And ultimately, to those of you who are familiar of course with the video game developing company Evolution, you primarily know them for developing the WRC games, or at least the WRC licensed games that were ultimately developed by this company and distributed by Codemasters from 2001 to 2005. And ultimately, following the release of that final game Evolution had developed in 2005, their contract for the WRC licensing had ultimately expired. And following that, of course, there would not officially be another WRC game released until 2010. However, following the expiration of that WRC contract, Evolution had ultimately announced the development of another gaming series, and ultimately this is primarily an off-road racing series. And that racing series in the end eventually turned out to be MotorStorm, released exclusively for the PlayStation 3, and ultimately the start of what would become a fairly successful racing game franchise, and certainly includes a lot of variety also. Initially released in Japan in December of 2006, and then to follow that up, it would eventually be released to the rest of the world by March of 2007. Now, of course, I've already got everything set up, as of which, obviously, I do of course have to turn the music off because, well, obviously, a majority of songs in this game are copyrighted, and I've also turned down the sound a little bit, so the in-game volume is not completely overwhelming my voice. And also, furthermore, I would like to say this game has a pretty good soundtrack, and it is hailing right outside my house at the moment. And just to showcase all of the artists, we've got some pretty good ones here, as of which, for example, we've got Slipknot, Primal Screen, we've also got Pendulum, which is a band from Australia, mainly an electronic band, but still a band anyway. We've also got a lot of other good bands in here as well, as of which we have Elite Force. We also have QOTSA, Monster Magnet, Elite Force, along with Wolfmother, and ironically enough we also have Nirvana with Kings of Leon as well, which are good musical artists. And so, let's now get down to the game itself. So, already set up my controller, as of which we have a choice between choosing Style A and Style B. Of course, I have chosen Style B because it's easier, because I'm used to using the D-pad setup, and furthermore, we also get an introduction to the game as well. So we're competing in something that is called the MotorStorm Festival. We do also get some extras, as of which we get the intro, and we also get a couple of other videos as well, including how the game was developed, and we also get the credits as well. I may or may not consider showing off the extras. And finally, we also get an introduction to the game itself. A warm and dirty welcome to the MotorStorm Festival. Tickets. And we also basically get an introduction to how the game works. Each event in the festival requires a ticket, like this one to gain entry. There are 21 tickets, and each gives you entry between 1 and 4 races. 3 tickets are available from the start. Obviously those are the level 1 tickets. Earn points for each race and use them to gain new tickets and vehicles. And we also get an introduction to the MotorStorm races as well. Keep an eye out for the gold logo. In these races you can choose any vehicle for that race. So we get 3 tickets to start off with. Obviously these are level 1 tickets, and no points are required to unlock these. And I think we have a total of 4 levels, as far as I know, which ultimately correspond, of course, to the overall gameplay. And we also get total points, which I guess you could say counts towards overall progress of the game itself. That is basically how much of the game we have completed. And ultimately, we do have a range, of course, between 1 and 4 races on each ticket. As of which, for example, this one only has 1 race, basically the introduction to the game, and this one basically has 3 races, and this one has 4 races. And then once we have completed all of these, we can basically move onwards to level 2. And of course for the races themselves I will be doing a segment for each of the races. And furthermore, what I'm also going to be doing is showcasing all of the vehicles available to us. So we have a choice of 7 vehicles to choose from here, as of which we can choose a bike, an ATV, or a quad bike, whichever you think is preferable. We've also got a buggy, rally car, racing truck, a mud plugger, and a big rig. And so these are all the vehicles we get to start off with. So for the bikes, to start with, we can choose either the Mohawk Indiana, and we also get a couple of paint jobs to add on, of course, to the variety of this game. And these are actually pretty interesting looks, in my opinion. So we can choose between the Mohawk Indiana and the Monarch Champ, which is more of a BMX, in my opinion. At least it looks like a BMX. But yeah. So that is the bikes we have available to us to start with. And for the quad bikes, we can choose either the Ibex Bushfire, which comes in these colours. And we can also choose the Molotov Stuka, which looks a little bit better, but not really that much better. No, guess that's just because I'm not a quad bike person. And I think as far as I know, it's basically 2 vehicles to start with under each category. And so for the buggies we have available to us, once the game loads, there it is, we can choose between the Beelzebuggy Carabid and also the Wombat Typhoon. Oh yeah, I like that pink. That is not bad. That is not bad for a pink paint job. But yeah. And for the rally cars, we can choose from to start with. We can either choose the Patriot Surger, which is basically their alternative to the Dodge Charger, pretty much. Or you could probably argue in saying this car is more or less a Dodge Charger look-alike, as you can see by both the front and the rear. And the Italia Gagliano is the other car we can start with if we choose a rally car, which I think is basically their alternative version to the Lancia Delta, but again, that's probably me. Now for the racing trucks we have available to us, we can choose between either the Castro Robusto, yeah, loading is actually quite slow in this game when it comes to generating the vehicles, and also the Springbok Kalahari. And I think as far as I know, this was one of the first video games ever to be released exclusively for the PlayStation 3. Because ironically, 06 was the same year the PlayStation 3 had ultimately came out, so I'm pretty sure this game would definitely have to be one of the first to be released exclusively on the PS3. So we can choose between either the Mojave Slugger or the Lunatic Asylum. Well, both of these actually don't look that much different from one another. Well, at least I can say the paint jobs are alright. And finally, we can show off the big rigs. And the choices we have to choose from are basically the Castro Varadero or Varadero, and the Molotov Drago. And I think as far as I know that makes a total of precisely... Oh my god, this thing is massive. This ultimately makes a choice of 14 vehicles to start with. Of course, there will be many different vehicles that will of course be unlocked as we go through the game. And of course, if I zoom in, this thing just basically looks massive. It basically feels as though I'm standing in front of something bigger than the Berlin Wall. At least if I look at it from an up-close shot. But anyways. Before I start ranting on about historical monuments, that shall conclude the introduction to MotorStorm. And next time, we shall be getting started with the game. So, all I can really say now is, thanks to everyone for watching this neat little introduction. Well, 15-minute introduction if you want to be more specific, and I shall see you at the start of the game. MotorStorm begins here.